Part 21. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke Hixie. Chapter 201. Chapter 201. Yeah, I beat someone up. Yeah, only succeeded in skipping a level, but more problems followed. She is facing the high school entrance examination and has to continue to burn the midnight oil in order to get into a better high school. But there will always be people who will cause trouble in her life, and Lee Moore is the first to bear the brunt. Lee Moore once again drove a luxury car to number 2 middle school and asked to see Ye Wei by name. Ye Wei, the topical figure who successfully skipped a level, was discussed again. Lee Moore, what do you want to do? Ye Wei thought to himself, we are not familiar with each other, why do you keep coming to me? It's so annoying. This time Lee Moore simply stopped pretending, with an angry look in his eyes, and said straight to the point, I want to talk to you, you find a quiet place. Ye Wei blinked, nodded, and said yes. Ye Wei took Lee Moore to the corridor where he was last time. Here we are, no one is here, what do you want to say to me? Similarly, when he was speaking, he turned around and received a slap in the face. At the critical moment, Ye Wei firmly grabbed Lee Moore's wrist. Lee Moore tried hard to slap him down, but found that he couldn't do it no matter what. Lee Moore's eyes widened, when did Ye Wei have so much power? Helping, Lee Moore could only yell angrily, Chiao Li, let go. Ye Wei pursed her lips and smiled with an innocent expression on her face, okay, I'll let it go. She let go of her hand neatly, but at that moment she pushed Lee Moore away. You, Chiao Li, you said you would let Brother Chen go abroad. Why is it that the list announced by the school now says that he will stay in China? What list? I don't know. Stop pretending to be stupid with me, how could you not know that the admission that Brother Chen promised was only for domestic schools? Just when Lee Moore was happily making perfect plans to go abroad and dreaming about a bright future after going abroad, the cruel truth struck her like a thunderbolt. As the college entrance examination approaches, the school has announced the list of outstanding recommended students, but Yezikin's name is on the list of the most famous finance school in the country. At that time, Lee Moore called to ask Madame Ye what was going on, and then Madame Ye realized that she had been kept in the dark by her son and the school. Of course Mrs. Ye asked the school to make changes immediately, but this was a decision that had already been finalized and the principal refused. Mrs. Ye moved out of Ye's house to oppress others, which made the principal of Xinjiao College feel very embarrassed, and the final decision-making power fell on Yezikin. Mrs. Ye went to confront Yezikin, but Lee Moore was unable to intervene. When she was angry, she thought of Ye Wei. Chiao Li, I thought my disguise was good enough, but I didn't expect you to be even more disguised than me. You do one thing in front of others and another behind the scenes, and you don't even betray the people who treat you best. Not only are you selfish, you are also vicious. Ye Wei chuckled, his casual tone not paying attention to Lee Moore's screams at all. Lee Moore, what qualifications do you have to question me? Some people think they are right, of course I do. It's me who lives in Ye's house now and becomes Yezikin's sister, not you, the orphan who was kicked out. Lee Moore seemed to be addicted to scolding. He couldn't control his mouth and started blabbering, after my parents died, I stayed in other people's homes. Now that I have been kicked out, I still stick to them. How can you? Snapped. A sharp and resounding slap made the atmosphere around him freeze. Lee Moore's eyes widened in disbelief. Ye's only hand was raised in the air, trembling slightly. None of them saw a sneaky man hiding next to the big tree at the end of the corridor, holding up his mobile phone to take pictures of the scene. Whoops. Now it's time to collect another name. She is relatively cool, but she is not an arrogant girl. The name should be quiet, cool, and gentle, but not pretending to be cold. Similar to the type of Mo Kingseo. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke Hixie. Chapter 202. Chapter 202 Disfigurement. How dare you hit me? Lemur was so hurt that tears came to her eyes. She never imagined that one day she would be slapped by Ye Wei. But Yezi was still so fearless and put on an innocent expression. I told you, don't try to take advantage of Brother Chen. These people all deserve it. Even though she had clearly warned them not to do so, they still greedily wanted to take Yezikin away from her. She has never taken the initiative to provoke anyone, but these people always come to cause trouble and make her live in peace. Xiao Lian, you. Limo raised his hand again to slap him back. With a sound of "pa," the second slap fell on Limo's face. Ah, Limo held both cheeks with his hands but didn't dare to press them close. He looked at the current Ye Wei in horror and took 2 steps back quickly. Xiao Li, you are so vicious. Vicious, Ye Wei took steps and approached Limo step by step. Limo was so frightened that her feet trembled and she turned around and ran away. But before she ran out of the corridor, Ye Wei grabbed her wrist. Limo's strength could not resist her. Let me go, Limo shouted, but she didn't dare to speak too loudly, because she was afraid that others would see what was happening here, which would make her lose face. Just when Limo thought that Ye Wei would take revenge on her, a cold feeling suddenly came from the palm of her hand. I saw Ye Wei stuffing a small white bottle into her palm, and said, I'm sorry, I was a little angry just now. No, I'll give you the medicine now, wipe your face, the traces will disappear soon. Ye Wei seemed to have a different face again. Limo felt like she was being mentally tortured. How could there be such a person as Ye Yi? Her eyes are pure, her expression is innocent, but what she does is crueler than anyone else. So, when Ye Wei let go of Limo's hand, Limo just left the bottle on the ground. I don't believe you are so kind. What a broken bottle, maybe you want me to be disfigured. Ye Wei pursed her lips, bent down to pick up the bottle, took out the stuff and smeared it on the back of her hand in front of Limo, and then stretched out her hand towards Limo. Both of them saw with their own eyes that there were no side effects after applying the medicine on the back of her hand. This medicine is very good. I don't want to quarrel with you, so I give it to you as my apology to you. Ye Wei's tone was extremely sincere, and he reminded him intentionally or unintentionally, otherwise, how will you go back later? Yes, family people should always pay attention to their appearance. Perhaps the last 2 sentences touched Limo's heart, but Limo couldn't help but reach out for it. Just when Limo was about to get the bottle, the medicine bottle fell to the ground again. You. I'm sorry, I'm not sure. Ye Wei clapped his hands, walked past Limo, and left simply. She is not afraid of Limo getting angry. Anyway, according to Limo's character, she will definitely use that thing, because she can't afford to lose that person. Otherwise, she would not be able to explain herself to the good-looking Madame Ye, and she would not be able to bear the strange looks from others. This battle is undoubtedly won by Ye Wei, because she has an insight into people's hearts. Limo, as Ye Wei thought, angrily took the medicine in the corridor. The traces disappeared quickly, but before she had time to feel happy, her face felt like it was on fire and it hurt. Limo's face was distorted and he smashed something. Xiaoling. You and I are at odds with each other. The junior high school part has come to an end. Today is Saturday, the Chinese Valentine's Day, so please give me some recommendation votes, messages, and rewards. Brother Chen is gone and he can't always be by Xiaoling's side. Xiaoling, who has become an ordinary person, has to learn to get used to it. Someone took a video photo of Xiaoling Dang and Limo having sex. What will they do? End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 203. Chapter 203 4 months later. 4 months later. 121, 121, 121, hurricane. The whistle blew, and after a burst of neat footsteps, the students in camouflage uniforms stood in a straight military posture, raising their heads and looking ahead. Until the stern instructor inspected the team, he finally gave the order, "Take a 10-minute break." Ah! The instructor's order liberated them instantly. Everyone was so tired that they fell to the ground, not caring about their appearance. "Oh my God, what a shabby school this is, and it assigns such a strict teacher to our class. If I had known about it, I wouldn't have come here. SHH, keep your voice down, don't let the instructor hear you." The crowd complained, but Ye Wei walked slowly beside the runway. Many people know that you shouldn't sit down or drink water immediately after a long run, but most people don't do it because they are too tired to care. The only difference in Ye is that when she was studying with Master Shirley, what basic skills had she not practiced? It's not that I'm not tired, it's not that I'm used to it. So she chose the healthiest way. Walk slowly, take deep breaths, and drink water after resting. During breaks, everyone likes to talk about something when they get together. Girls are not as physically strong as boys and are too tired to talk. On the other hand, boys, for example, some boys who have played basketball for a long time or like other sports are in better shape, so they just sit there and watch their jokes. Tisk, 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 look at those girls, they were all dressed neatly and beautifully on the first day of school. They were all wearing camouflage uniforms. I don't know who is good looking. When it comes to military training, everyone is the same. I still remember one very exaggerated example. You have to bring your own cushion when sitting on a stool. Your clothes will never touch the table. Now you are not sitting on the ground without any image. Some people echoed, and some people suddenly raised their heads and pointed at the runway. "No, look over there, I've noticed that girl several times, and she has never sat on the ground without any image. Real or fake?" "I haven't seen it anyway." Hearing what you said, I also remembered it. Several boys booed and looked at the runway, including Su Yuchen. A buddy put his hand on Su Yuchen's shoulder. "Hey, our brother Su is staring at people." That is Su Yuchen's roommate Lu Biang. He is outgoing and mixes well among boys. They had just entered high school and didn't understand the school's goings on, but Su Yuchen was recognized as the class star from the moment he entered the classroom. At that time, they asked the class to choose a class star, but Su Yuchen didn't look at those girls. Su Yuchen is staring at the girl now, which is worth mentioning. Brother Su has fallen in love with her, and I don't know what she looks like. No impression. I'm not impressed, it just doesn't look good. If she is a good-looking beauty, they will definitely remember her on the first day they meet. I'll go over and ask. Lu Biang stood up with his hands on his hands and walked towards the track. Ye Wei had been walking for 5 minutes. Just when she was about to stand and catch her breath, a bottle of water was handed to her. Lu Biang looked hard to see Ye Wei's face clearly, but Ye Wei refused to turn his head, and could not see clearly due to the brim of his hat. Lu Biang said familiarly, "Classmate, please drink some water." Ye Wei shook his head. "No, thank you." Lu Biang laughed, "Classmate, what's your name? How about making a friend?" Before he got an answer, a girl next to him shouted, "Xiao Lian, come over here quickly." Hearing someone calling her name, Ye Wei subconsciously turned around, exposing her whole appearance to everyone. "Come on, let's refresh our brains. What did you look like from high school?" End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 204. Chapter 204. She is beautiful and has a sweet voice. Perhaps due to training, Ye Wei has grown much taller this year, with a net height of 1.6 meters. The originally chubby baby cheeks have lost some weight, but they are still a bit round. With a ponytail and a clean appearance, you will feel very comfortable at first glance. In short, it's not stunning, but it's not ugly either. Xiao Li, come here and drink water. Oh, right away. Ye Wei responded there, and then showed a shallow smile to Lu Biang. The dimples on his cheeks appeared. My name is Chiao Li. She introduced her name generously. Her voice was like mountain spring water, soft and sweet. Ye Wei returned to the group of girls, and Lu Biang also jumped back into the group of boys in a daze. Some boys were cheering, we just saw her, that girl is quite cute. Lu Biang raised his hand and added, although she is not a beauty, I have to admit that that girl has a very sweet voice. What's your name? It's my favorite style, cute girl. Lu Biang pointed at the person and laughed, and then wanted to say yes only name. She said her name was. Su Yuchen's voice suddenly broke in and said, Chiao Ling. Lu Biang slapped his thigh to show his excitement. Walk, brother Su, you actually know. Yes, Su Yuchen responded lightly. Lu Biang shook his head and clapped his hands. It's incredible, brother Su, you didn't even know that he was the top student in the class, but you actually remembered Xiao Chiao. There was a buddy next to him who heard Lu Biang's nickname for his new classmate and joked, maybe brother Su was called Zhou Yu in his previous life. Ha ha. Su Yuchen did not respond to these words. Of course he knew Jiao Ling. In just over 2 months, she went from an average student to a top grade skipping student. This was a girl who was famous even in number 2 middle school. And he and Jiao Ling dated several times in junior high school. Looking delicate and frail, I thought she was a nerd who was immersed in studying, but I didn't know that she was also so good at sports. Su Yuchen didn't understand why he deliberately spoke at this moment to let everyone know, he knew Jiao Lian. But there seemed to be no possibility of reversing what had been said, so I didn't delve into it further. Gather. The whistle sounded, and the stern instructor stood in front of them. The students sighed in their hearts, the devil instructor is here again. They train on the school playground. Since there are no classes, the head teacher often comes to inspect. When the head teacher talked about some situations with the instructor, the serious instructor actually called out Jiao Li by name in front of the whole class. Yes, only heartbeat seemed to have missed half a beat, and his breathing suddenly became heavier. She was very nervous when she walked out of the crowd. Hello, teacher. After the instructor nodded, he gave another strict order, go back. That loud voice frightened Yi so much that he didn't even dare to breathe. Suddenly I remembered the warning from the military training, and stood up to my position with my chest raised and my head raised. Actually, everyone could see that she was nervous because their instructor was so scary. Today, I just want to praise this classmate Jiao Ling. Although she looks small, her perseverance is amazing. She is the only girl in the class. She never slacks off or skates during training, and she completes every unworthy task very well. It turned out to be a compliment, and Ye Wei breathed a sigh of relief. So, in front of you today. Before the instructor could say anything, a scream suddenly broke out from the crowd, teacher, a classmate has fainted. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 205. Chapter 205, I'll break my hand. Someone fainted during military training and the crowd exploded. Quickly, quickly, send me to the infirmary. It is a hot day for military training, and I occasionally faint from heat stroke. Just when a boy took the initiative to help him, the girl who had not fainted completely expressed her resistance. No, I don't want a boy. Ye Wei, who originally had no intention of joining in the fun, tilted his head and looked over when he heard this. When the teacher and classmates told the girl to stop being willful, Ye Wei took the initiative to squeeze into the crowd and help the girl up. I'll do it. I am coming too. In the end, Ye Wei and another classmate named Shen Nianan took the fainted girl to the infirmary. Ye Wei and Shen Nianan were not familiar with each other, but they were actually roommates in the same dormitory. Shen Nianan is usually the same as when she was skipping a grade, holding a book and reading all the time. I didn't know that she was also so willing to help others. Ye Wei glanced at Shen Nianan twice before she noticed. Shen Nianan took out a palm-sized notebook in front of her and explained calmly, I just want to read for a while. Does this explain to her the reason for doing good things? I had no intention of getting involved, but when she heard that the female classmate was accused of being willful and unsociable after she refused to be touched by a boy, she couldn't help but stand up. It's not that she is so great, it just reminds me of being alienated and misunderstood in the Xinjiao Academy because she refused to be touched by others. Doctors needed names when recording cases. They dug out their student ID cards from the girls' camouflage uniforms and learned that the female classmate who fainted was called Yuan Ran. After seeing it, the doctor only said that Yuan Ran fainted due to heat stroke and needed more rest. Shen Nianan is really a nerd. He has been listening to nothing outside the window since he came in, and he only concentrates on reading books by sages. Ye Wei takes on the task of taking care of her classmates. After that, several boys walked in from the infirmary. Hurry and show our brother Bei the injury. Okay, I'll just cut off my hand, why are you so anxious? Those boys are not wearing camouflage uniforms, they should be senior classmates. The young female doctor in the infirmary was right next to Ye, looking at it and shaking her head, it's those little gangsters again, they make a lot of noise every time they come. Ye Wei asked curiously, young gangster? Aren't you classmates in our school? The female doctor explained, of course they are from our school, but those few are very messy and often fight with people outside the school. They come here every 2 days. The boy in the black t-shirt is their so-called boss. He must have just returned from the fight. I heard the doctor calling Bei to sit down. Ye Wei looked up and happened to catch the eye of Kitano, a boy in black clothes. Ye only saw the blood on his arm, but Bei raised his hand with a ruffian smile on his face. Ye Wei quickly turned around and saw Yuan Ran sleeping peacefully, and felt much better. Only. Those boys have been making noises since they came in, and the students who are seeing patients in the infirmary have been disturbed. Give our brother Bei a good life, use the best medicine. Ye Wei glanced at Shen Nianan and found that she was immersed in a sea of books. Just when Ye Wei had a huge headache and wanted to run away, her classmate suddenly appeared and waved to her, classmate Jiao Li, we are looking for you. Who is looking for me? Because it is inconvenient to carry a mobile phone during military training, there is no way to contact me via mobile phone. The teacher said it was your brother who called and he is waiting for you outside the school gate. Ye Wei stood up suddenly, told Shen Nianan to look after Yuan Ran, and ran out quickly. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 206. Chapter 206 The Distressing Height Difference. When she ran out of the infirmary that night, she just ran into Su Yuchen and the others who were about to go to the cafeteria, but she just paused, turned around, and went straight to the school gate. Lu Biang was shocked, am I right? That was Qiao Ling just now? She was, so fast. If you don't know something, come and have a look. Lu Biang, who loved to join in the fun, rolled up the sleeves of his camouflage uniform and strode forward. Su Yuchen took 2 steps to catch up with him and pulled him back. Hey, brother Su, I care about my classmates. Lu Biang had to admit that he was shocked by Ye Wei's speed. Su Yuchen couldn't help but lead him to the canteen. I'm hungry, let's eat. Of course, this is just a small episode. Yes, only running speed was achieved through practice, but the most important thing was that the person she missed so crazily finally appeared. In total, she and Yezikin have not seen each other for half a month. Yezikin University's military training is closed, and no leave is allowed without reason. Moreover, they are far apart now, and it will take a lot of time to go back and forth. After registering at the school gate, I looked around but didn't see any familiar car. Just as she turned the corner and walked forward, she suddenly felt a hand on her head. His pupils were dilated, and Wei's whole body froze. "Don't leave, look back." She turned around obediently, and a familiar face came into view. His thin lips were smiling, as if everything was the same as before. Only, "Brother Chen, you seem to be tanned." "Yezikin." Wei's hand carelessly touched his handsome face, and for a while he pulled it restlessly. He was sure that it was several degrees darker than before. Wei looked at it and nodded, "You are finally darker than me. As a girl, I care about my appearance very much, and most people want to have white and tender skin. It is best to develop strong muscles and bones." Yezikin's skin was fair and tender, but Yezikin's skin quality had always been better than hers, which made her very jealous. Thanks to this military training, she finally won. "The temperature over there is higher than here." Yezikin lowered his eyes to look at her and explained lightly. Wei smiled and said, "You are darker than me anyway, I want to take a photo to remember you." Subconsciously, he reached for his cell phone in his pocket, only to find that he didn't take it out at all. She skillfully extended her claws to Yezikin and hit the target with one strike. She took out a full-screen white mobile phone and unlocked it with her fingerprint. "Hurry up and take it, I want to take 2 pictures." She gestured like a child with scissor hands, and Yezikin put his hand on her shoulder. After patting her, he suddenly said, "I seem to have grown a little taller." "Of course. I'm 1.6 meters tall now. Maybe I can catch up with you in another year or 2. Well, I believe you can grow to 1.87 meters in 2 years. Yui. This is Red Lolo contempt, okay. What does it mean to believe that she will grow to 187 in 2 years? Because Yezikin's current height is 187 centimeters, he might become a giant in another 2 years. This height difference makes her always fail in committing crimes. "Brother Chen, how many days can you play when you come back this time?" 2 days, just the weekend. It's so short. It's been a long time. I will ask for leave for you tonight in the name of a parent and take you to meet 2 friends. You can contact them if you have anything to do in the future. Friend, okay. Yes, only unprepared answer. Yezikin's eyes narrowed and he sent a text message to Gujinsi asking him to bring the psychiatrist he had met with last time. Answer the question in the book review area. Kixi currently updates 4 chapters a day. Kixi asked a question, how tall do you want the little bell to grow? End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 207. Chapter 207 Meeting a Psychiatrist. Wei was still interested in knowing what friends Yezikin would introduce to her. When she saw Gujinsi sitting opposite a middle-aged man in a suit, she felt chills in her heart. "Brother Chen, are they the friends you said you wanted me to meet?" Yezikin nodded slightly. Wei lowered his head and blinked. She also said that if there was an emergency, she could ask her friends for help, but she and Gujinsi obviously had a bad relationship with each other, so how could she ask him for help? "I know what you are thinking, but the Gu family is here and it is most convenient when you need help." Yezikin brings Wei here tonight for 2 purposes. First, Nangong Luo, who graduated from high school, has followed his family's arrangement and studied abroad. Gongqian Li, who continues to stay in the Xinjiao Academy for her 3rd year of junior high school, although she is sincere enough to Wei, is still a child who has not grown up, and there is no guarantee that she can handle any major problems. Excluding the Ye family, the Nangong family and the Gong family. Among Yezikin's so-called own people there is still the Gu family. The head of the Gu family is Gu Jinsi's father, and Gu Jinsi, who has grown up, is able to walk alone. For Gu Jinsi and Ye only to know each other does not require them to have a friendly relationship, otherwise they would not have waited until now. As long as Gu Jinsi Changqing agrees to Yezikin's request and makes the only promise to protect Ye, he will naturally do it. Second, Yezikin's main purpose is to take Ye Yuyi to meet with a psychiatrist. More than half a year ago, Yezikin's hidden side of his personality gradually came to light. After Yezikin consulted a psychiatrist, the psychiatrist asked to see Ye Wei himself. Yezikin did not agree at that time. But not long after, Yezikin's counter-pressure against Li Mo'er made Yezikin wake up again. He hesitated whether to let Ye Wei see a psychiatrist. It happened that the psychiatrist was conducting research abroad to complete a book on psychology. Yezikin observed the development of the situation and put the matter on hold for the time being. But now that he is away from home for a long time, he always has to make some plans in advance. "Mr. Ye, I just met Dr. Gu and he shamelessly came here with me, you don't mind, right? My surname is Huo, and I am a colleague of Dr. Gu." The three men introduced each other as if it was an unexpected gathering. Dr. Huo is good at insight into people's hearts. On the surface, he is dealing with Yezikin and Gu Jinsi, but in fact, he is secretly observing Ye Wei. After everyone briefly introduced themselves, Dr. Huo and Gu Jinsi intentionally or unintentionally brought the topic to Yezikin and Ye Wei. Yezikin can have a good conversation with them, while Ye Wei is a little shy in front of strangers, but he is polite and behaves appropriately. Dr. Huo learned about Ye Wei's situation from Yezikin. Based on current observations, Ye Wei is a well-behaved, innocent, and cute little girl, without any scheming. For example, I have no doubts about this dinner party or what Yezikin said. But the main purpose of today's meeting is to dig out some key points. From the surface, it is not difficult to guess Yezikin's thoughts, which is to regard Yezikin as his backbone. He is indeed innocent and has no scheming. Dr. Huo and Yezikin looked at each other and said, "I heard that Mr. Ye is currently studying at the most famous financial college in the country. I have a niece who is also a student there. How about I share my contact information so that you young people can communicate more? It would be nice to have someone to take care of you." The movement of Ye Yuyi's hand paused. Thanks to girl's heroic dream for the reward. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke Hixie. Chapter 208. Chapter 208 Contact Information of Other Women. Dr. Huo said that he would introduce his niece to Yezikin. Hearing this, Ye Wei stopped picking up the food and was waiting for Yezikin's response. "I have heard of Dr. Huo's niece, she is very talented at a young age, it would be great to get to know her. Gu Jinsi is talking to Dr. Huo and also intends to introduce Dr. Huo's niece to Yezikin." Ye Wei raised his head and looked at Yezikin's side face, making no sound and waiting quietly. Yezikin chuckled and toasted a glass of wine. "Dr. Huo might as well talk about it. If you are a senior sister from the school, it would be really good to get to know him. My niece, I am not boasting, she is first class in appearance and ability. You young people can talk about more topics than us, so you should communicate well." Dr. Huo praised his niece. During the conversation, he lost his identity as a doctor and was just an ordinary person recommending his junior to outstanding men. Topics similar to the relationship between men and women make Ye Wei very unhappy. She took the chopsticks and picked up the white rice in bites, but she didn't pick up the vegetables. When he heard that Yezikin agreed to get acquainted with Dr. Huo's niece, he lowered his head and looked at the bowl without saying a word, and his face was a little gloomy. Dr. Huo and Gu Jinsi both had a clear view of Ye Wei's performance. Dr. Huo's behavior was naturally to test Ye Wei. Ye Wei's patience seemed to be much better than they imagined, and the strangeness he showed could hardly be called weird. Yezikin received a call and left temporarily. Guchensi suddenly changed the topic to Ye Weiwei. Young lady, I have pulled you out of the blacklist, when are you going to let me go? Huh, Ye Wei's hands trembled and he almost dropped his chopsticks. Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it before, you are not on my blacklist, Ye Weiwei explained to him with a guilty conscience. Guchensi smiled half-heartedly. It turns out that the only lady is so generous, but I, as an adult, can't compare to you. Ye Wei quickly waved his hand to help him set up the steps. No, no, Mr. Gu must just want to make a joke on me. Oh, I'm not kidding you. Guchensi's suddenly cold voice made the atmosphere very awkward. With all due respect, if it weren't for your brother's sake, I wouldn't be interested in taking care of this little brat like you. Guzikin clearly showed his disdain for Ye Wei. Ye Wei bit his lip habitually, with a little loss in his eyes. I'm sorry, I know I'm terrible, and I won't cause you any trouble. However, as she clenched her chopsticks, she had a completely different thought in her mind. This Guchensi really didn't give her face. If it weren't for her brother, she wouldn't have behaved like a well-behaved person and chat with Guchensi face to face. Guchensi, who didn't know about Ye Yuyi's psychological activities, clearly showed his displeasure with Ye Yuyi. Come on, ma, don't bother to say something else. Dr. Huo and Guchensi looked at each other. Ye Weiwei can't control the other side of her emotions when she mentions things related to Yezikin, and the surface appearance can really be described as soft and good. Dr. Huo also received a text message saying, a patient suddenly came to my place, please go first. As he was leaving, he suddenly remembered that something was missing. He quickly wrote a note and handed it to Ye Wei. This is my niece's contact information. Please give it to Mr. Ye, Miss Ye. Come on, tell me what little Belle is going to do with this note. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 209. Chapter 209 Couple Earrings. Oh, okay. Ye Wei put the note away. It is a very light and thin piece of paper, but it feels heavy in your hand. There is the contact information of a strange woman on it, the woman I want to introduce to my brother. Opposite him, Guchensi drank another glass of wine, put one hand on the edge of the seat and stood up. Tell your brother, I'll leave first. Guchensi had a cold face, and even when he smiled, it was a sneer, as if someone owed him 1.8 million, and it would be better to leave now. Ye Wei breathed a sigh of relief and leaned against the chair. She clenched and unclenched the note in her hand, and finally couldn't resist the temptation and spread it out. There was a series of phone numbers written on it, as well as a woman's name. Ye Wei silently wrote it down, and slowly closed his fingers. After Yezikin came back from answering the phone, Ye Wei handed him the note in his hand. Brother Chen, this is the number Dr. Huo left for you. Telephone. That's the contact information of Dr. Huo's niece, the one you just said you wanted to meet. Oh, Yezikin actually reached out to get it? Ye Wei grabbed the corner of the note but refused to let go. Yezikin lowered his eyes to look at her. Ye Wei bit his lip and silently let go of his hand. On the way home, Ye Wei asked reluctantly, Brother Chen, do you really want to get to know Dr. Huo's niece? Yezikin seemed to ask her casually, what's wrong with getting to know one more person in a strange place? I'll just ask. Ye Wei hugged Yezikin's arm tightly, with unhappiness written all over his face. But I see that someone seems very unhappy. Why, are you unhappy with this meal today? It's okay, it doesn't matter whether the food is good or not, what matters is which Dr. Huo and Guchensi. Why did Guchensi bring Dr. Huo here when he had nothing to do? And why did Dr. Huo introduce his niece to Yezikin when he had nothing to do? This is what makes her unhappy. But what Yezikin said makes sense. Going to a new environment and making more friends will be more helpful to you. Even if she didn't get to know Dr. Huo's niece, she would still get to know other women while studying and working. This was something she could understand. Ye Wei decided not to mention the topic about Dr. Huo's niece. At the only festive and dull time of the night, I suddenly saw a bunch of lively people. After a closer look, I found that a newly opened jewelry store was holding an event. There were pairs of lovers, and 2 or 3 sisters holding hands passed by them. I fell in love with the silver bracelet at first sight. I was really lucky to find it on sale at a new store. It's good it shows your skin tone, but I don't like to wear jewelry. I thought it was inconvenient, so I bought earrings. I bought 3 pairs. Yes, this event will end tomorrow. I will bring my boyfriend here to have his ears pierced and wear couple earrings tomorrow. Ye Wei was never one for petty gains, but the last part of her conversation made her ears stand up. Having your ears pierced? Couple earrings. She suddenly remembered the story Mo Kikai told her. Legend has it that if you think about a man when you get your ears pierced, you will still be a woman in the next life, and she will be his woman. Does wearing earrings give you a sense of belonging? Brother Chen, let's go in and take a look. There are too many people. If you want to buy jewelry, I will accompany you out tomorrow. It's okay, I just want to see it now. I also want to get my ears pierced. Brother Chen, can you accompany me? About the plot, I think the note still needs to be destroyed. As for why, the answer will be revealed in the next chapter. Thanks to South Wind Blows Gently and Sweet Tempting Girl for the reward. Announce the list. The one who got the bracelet was Xia Tian. He joined the group and contacted Kixi to inform him of his mailing address. The winners of 300 book coins are 11 Yu, Haitang, Yewei Hualiang, and Yi Ji Zioxi. The winning Kaibao went to the group to find the administrator 11 Yu to receive their rewards. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 210. Chapter 210. The note was stolen. At Yes' only request, Yezikin walked into the crowd holding her in his arms. A thief passed by and took away the note from Ye Wei's coat. Dr. Pang's niece's contact information was stolen. The thief took advantage of the crowd to escape, but when he went to the edge and opened it, he saw that it was a useless piece of paper. He was so angry that he tore it into 4 pieces and threw it on the ground. Just now, Ye Wei handed it to Yezikin. Although Yezikin accepted it, he asked her to put the note into her bag. Ye Wei casually stuffed it into his coat, but the thief mistakenly thought it was banknotes. Brother Chen, I'm going to get my ears pierced. Aren't you afraid of pain? Luli has been beaten, and she said it doesn't hurt. Girls all want to be beautiful, so I want to wear earrings. Ye Wei shook his arm coquettishly, blinking her eyes, and Ye 11's sweet voice made Ye 11. How could Chen refuse? Yezikin glanced at her lightly, and finally nodded in agreement. Happy opening ceremony, there are special people there to pierce the ears of the guests, and it's free of charge. Furthermore, this store really listens to its conscience and thoroughly disinfects the instrument after each earring is done to ensure that bacteria will not be transmitted. Ye Wei stared closely at the person who had her ears pierced in front of her, and noticed that she wrinkled when her ears were pierced, and it didn't seem to be very painful. As soon as that person left, Ye Wei couldn't wait to grab the position. Yezikin suddenly stretched out his hand to pull the person up, raised his eyebrows and asked, now that you are getting earrings, what will you do during military training? Ah, oops, I forgot, Ye Wei sighed in despair. Now the silver earrings are inserted. You need to be very careful during the first week after piercing your ears. The instructor is not allowed to wear earrings during military training. There is still 1 week left before the end of military training. Ye Wei muttered unwillingly, why is this happening? It took a lot of effort for me to muster up the courage. And I also secretly want to buy a pair of earrings, 1 for each person. It's understandable that the little girl loves beauty, but Yezikin couldn't do anything to her. He rubbed her ponytail and promised with a smile, "I'll bring you here again in the future. Then we have an agreement." The ears were not successfully pierced, and yet I had no interest in shopping. The two of them slowly dispersed back to the apartment that Yezikin bought outside. Wei decided to rent out the house Jiao Anyun rented and change it to live on campus in order to save money. Yezikin very much agreed with her decision. After all, if there was any problem in the dormitory, her classmates would be able to deal with it easily. At the same time, Yezikin also gave her the keys to her home and a bank card with no limit. Wei did not refuse, but he also never touched Kali's money. After entering the door, Wei was about to hang his coat on the hanger. Suddenly he remembered to contact Fang 11. While groping for the pocket on his coat, he said, "Oh, by the way, I'll give you the note first." But she reached out and dug twice and found nothing, and when she opened her inner pocket, it was empty. He couldn't help but frown, and apologized in a crisp voice, "Brother Chen, I really want to lose something." Yezikin, who originally didn't take this matter seriously, suddenly became serious. "Lost?" "Yes, I put it inside my coat, but I can't find it now." Yezikin took out the freshly warmed milk, walked slowly to Wei, and asked casually, "Oh, I didn't have time to look at it just now. Little Bell, do you still remember what was written on it?" Ye only subconsciously lowered his eyes and his pupils shrank. "Thanks to Li Menjiao, and I am hard to coax for the reward." Now that the note is lost, does the little bell mean that it is remembered or forgotten? End of this chapter.